Imagine one of your country's most powerful and secret weapons, a nuclear submarine, along with all its nuclear missiles and crew, suddenly vanishes one day. You are one of the world's superpowers, and your navy can reach any corner of the globe. You search exhaustively, but there is no trace of it. It's as if it has vanished into thin air. This is exactly what happened to the Soviet Union in 1968. Their state-of-the-art ballistic missile submarine, K-129, was lost in the depths of the Pacific Ocean. The Soviets could not find their own submarine. But what the Soviets couldn't find, their main adversary, America's Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, did. Now the question is, what would the CIA do with the wreckage of an enemy submarine lying nearly 3 miles deep in the ocean? They weren't satisfied with just finding it. Their plan was far more audacious, far more unbelievable. They wanted to steal the entire submarine. This isn't a Hollywood movie script. This is the true story of one of the most secret, expensive, and technologically complex, breathtaking operations of the Cold War. In today's episode, we will explore the story of Project Azorian. This is the tale of that incredible heist, an extreme example of making the impossible possible. At the heart of this story was a Soviet Golf II-class ballistic missile submarine, codenamed K-129. This was no ordinary submarine. It was the pride of the Soviet Navy, a floating nuclear fortress. Inside, it carried 3 R-21 nuclear missiles, each with a destructive power nearly 70 times greater than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It also housed nuclear torpedoes and advanced communication and espionage equipment. In March 1968, while on patrol in a specific area of the Pacific Ocean north of the Hawaiian Islands, K-129 suddenly went silent. All communication with Moscow was severed. The Soviet Navy launched one of the largest search operations in its history. For weeks, dozens of ships and aircraft scoured the area but found no sign of K-129. But the Americans found it. How? During the Cold War, America had built a secret underwater microphone network across the ocean floor called SOSUS, or the Sound Surveillance System. Its purpose was to monitor Soviet submarines. On March 8, 1968, the SOSUS network recorded a strange sound from a specific area in the Pacific. The sound was like a sudden, catastrophic explosion, consistent with the sound of a submarine imploding under immense pressure. Based on this information, America dispatched a special nuclear submarine, the USS Halibut, to the area. The Halibut was a floating intelligence station, equipped with advanced cameras and sonar systems. For weeks, the Halibut photographed the seabed across an area of nearly 1,600 square miles. Finally, they found what they were looking for. About 1,560 miles northwest of Hawaii, at a depth of 16,500 feet, or nearly 5 kilometers, lay the shattered remains of K-129 on the ocean floor. Getting their hands on an enemy nuclear submarine was a dream come true for any intelligence agency. Inside were some of the Soviet Union's greatest secrets: their nuclear missile technology, torpedo designs, secret codebooks, cryptographic machines, and their naval strategy. For this reason, the submarine was like a gold mine to the Americans. But there was one problem. How was it possible to lift a 2,000-ton object from a depth of 16,500 feet? At that time, it was, in a word, technologically impossible. Nothing had ever been recovered from such a depth before. Moreover, the entire operation had to be conducted in complete secrecy, avoiding the watchful eyes of the Soviet Union. To make this impossibility a reality, the CIA undertook an incredible plan, codenamed Project Azorian. This plan was so ambitious that it seemed like science fiction at the time. The task could not be accomplished with any existing technology. They needed a technology that had never been created before. To carry out such a massive and secret operation, the CIA first needed a perfect cover story. It was impossible to build such a huge ship and send it to sea without attracting the attention of Soviet spy satellites. It was at this point that the CIA made one of the most brilliant moves in its history. They contacted the world's richest and most enigmatic man of that era, Howard Hughes. Hughes was an eccentric billionaire who often invested in strange and massive projects. His reputation was the perfect cover for the CIA. The cover story was this: Howard Hughes's company, in collaboration with the Sumitomo Group, was launching a groundbreaking project to mine manganese nodules from the deep sea. It was a brilliant deception because mining minerals from the deep sea genuinely required a large and technologically advanced vessel. Under this cover story, a wondrous ship was built, named the Hughes Glomar Explorer. This was no ordinary ship. It was a floating engineering marvel. A few of its key features will explain why it was considered an engineering marvel. First, the moon pool. In the center of the ship was a massive opening that connected directly to the sea. This hole was so large that a submarine could be hidden inside it. Second, the derrick and pipe string. On the ship's deck was a giant derrick, or crane, which could join 60-foot-long pipe sections together to create a pipeline nearly 3 miles long. Then there was the capture vehicle, or the claw. The most crucial part of the mission was a giant mechanical claw, internally codenamed Clementine. It was an octopus-like device designed to go to the ocean floor and gently grip the submarine. The entire plan was as follows. The Glomar Explorer would travel to the designated location and lower the massive claw and the pipe string into the ocean's depths through the moon pool. Once the claw gripped the submarine, it would be slowly lifted and hidden inside the ship's moon pool. The entire process would happen underwater and inside the ship, so the outside world, especially Soviet satellites, would see nothing. After years of planning and an expenditure of about $800 million, nearly $4 billion in today's money, the Glomar Explorer set sail for its mission in the summer of 1974. Many of the ship's sailors and engineers did not know the true purpose of the mission. They were told it was a mineral extraction expedition. Upon reaching the location, the breathtaking process began. Day after day, with extreme caution, the 3-mile-long pipeline was lowered into the deep sea, piece by 60-foot piece. Finally, Clementine, or the claw, at the end of the pipeline, reached the wreckage of K-129 at a depth of 16,500 feet. The engineers in the ship's control room watched the entire scene through remote-controlled cameras. Only they know the storm that was raging through their nerves. After several hours of effort, they were able to position the claw around the broken section of the submarine. The claw successfully gripped the submarine. The ascent began. At an excruciatingly slow pace, just a few feet per hour, the massive 2,000-ton wreck was being raised. Days turned into a week. The mission was on the verge of success. But then, disaster struck. When the submarine had been lifted about halfway, several of the claw's mechanical arms broke under the immense strain. About 2/3 of the submarine instantly broke free from the claw and was lost again to the abyss of the ocean, forever. The CIA was left with only a forward section of the submarine, about 38 feet long. Although the mission was a partial failure, what was recovered was invaluable. From that small section, the CIA recovered 2 nuclear torpedoes, some navigational equipment, and design plans. But what they had hoped for, the nuclear missiles, codebooks, and cryptographic machines, was all lost. However, something else was found inside, which was extremely sensitive. The bodies of 6 Soviet sailors were recovered. Amidst the intense hostility of the Cold War, the CIA showed the utmost respect for these deceased sailors. On the deck of the Glomar Explorer, the Americans, under the Soviet and American flags and with the Soviet national anthem playing, buried the 6 sailors at sea with full military honors and videotaped the entire ceremony. This incredible story might have remained a secret forever, but in 1975, a journalist from the Los Angeles Times exposed the operation. The CIA desperately tried to block the story's publication. This incident gave birth to a famous legal phrase known as the Glomar response. When a government agency is asked about classified information and can neither confirm nor deny the existence of that information, it is called a Glomar response. After the news broke, it caused an uproar worldwide. Although the Soviet Union did not officially react, they sent their ships to monitor the Glomar Explorer. Was Project Azorian a success or a failure? The answer is complex. From an intelligence perspective, it was a partial failure as the main prize had slipped away. But from a technological and engineering standpoint, it was a wondrous success in human history. It showed that with human will and ingenuity, nothing is impossible. This operation was a prime example of the cold, shadow warfare of the Cold War era. It reminds us how desperate the two superpowers were to outdo each other. This competition, on one hand, brought the world to the brink of nuclear destruction, and on the other, gave birth to such incredible technologies and missions that still amaze us today.